Hello everyone, it's great to see you guys joining early. Stay tuned, we'll be starting shortly. Hello everyone, welcome to another session of DataHour series. We will start in 5 minutes. Till then, let's get to know each other. We have pulled up a poll, kindly answer the questions. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We'll start the session in 2-3 minutes. Let's wait for everyone to join and settle in. Hello and welcome everyone to another session in DataHour series. We are thrilled to be here with you this evening for a session full of action-packed learning. I am Chirag Kesri, part of data science team at Analytics Vidya. For those who have joined us for the first time, a brief introduction about the DataHour session. The DataHour is a series of webinars conducted by Analytics Vidya and led up by top industry experts. It is a fun way to start and understand the concept of data science for the learning players and leading players in the data tech domain. And it is, as the name suggests, it is 1 hour dedicated to data. We are hopeful that these sessions are going to be a great source of enrichment and value adding for our community members. Now, on to our session today, which is solving BI challenges with Power BI and Automate. Nowadays, organizations need reliable and efficient data decision-making system to grow in this competitive market. This creates the need to have an enhanced business intelligence framework in place that can provide them with insights on demand and is flexible enough to accommodate the challenges. There is one renowned BI visualization tool from Microsoft, that is Power BI, which helps organizations to have better BI environment in place. In this 8 hour, Mr. Harsh Agarwal will cover the topics listed below to help us unleash the potential of two aces of Power Platform, Power BI and Power Automate. Introduction to Power BI, Power BI Dataflows, Power BI Dataset, DAX to create measures and column, Power BI Reports, Power BI Automate Flow. I hope you are excited to attend this data hour with us. Before we kick things off, I hand it over to our speaker. Quick recap to our housekeeping items. We are recording this session and recording will be available on our YouTube channel. The link you can find in the chat section. Please use the Q&A section for asking any question you might have during the session, and we do our best to answer them as the data are progress or towards the end. We'll be sharing a feedback poll towards the end, and you are requested to kindly fill up before leaving the session. Now on to our speaker in this session of data. We have Mr. Harsh Agarwal with us. Harsh is currently working with Intersoft Data Labs as a technical specialist. He holds 9+ years of experience in data analysis and business intelligence profession and has served in various domains, including data warehousing and master data management. He has expertise in implementing dashboard data visualization and analytics using Tableau and Power BI and RDBS, including PostgreSQL, MySQL, MS SQL, Server, and data warehouse, like Azure Data Warehouse. He has worked in all phases of BI full life cycle, including analysis, design, development, testing, development, post-production, support and maintenance, documentation, and end-user training. Over to you, Mr. Harsh, and the virtual stage is all yours.
Thanks a lot, Chirag. Thank you so much. Greetings, everyone of the day. And thank you so much for joining and being here on this day on occasion to be a part of this wonderful journey. Chirag, I would like to share my screen if I can go ahead.
Yes, you can share.
Yeah, okay, cool. I hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Chirag, for this lovely introduction about this DataHour, the webinar we are having, and we are hoping to have some interesting discussions towards the end of the webinar as we move on forward, as we all are aware of the content and the agenda of today's webinar. So we will be covering, majorly of the topics related to the visualization aspect, how it can help and what it is and all. A brief about me, what Chirag said, just to add on that. Yeah, majorly like I have been working with all the aspects of data during my entire tenure of 9 years so far. And I have a master's degree in data science and business analytics from APU Malaysia. So after that, to be honest, my journey with data kick-started, and I explored all the verticals of data, which is like engineering, then analysis, and data science, modeling, and all these aspects. So data has been, a very uh, a special thing for me, because I feel like without data, it's quite difficult to judge something. And so I like to play around with it and make sense out of the data as much as possible. So I have been exploring, and since last couple of years, I have been extensively working on the aspects of Power BI, how it can help the end users to gain some insights. And nowadays, like whenever you jump into the data journey, you are like clueless at times how it should be. Nevertheless, it's like I also had this kind of experience in my journey when I kickstarted after my graduation, like what to do, how it is happening and all. So the best thing is like just keep exploring and you find the answers, and that's what data enables you to do that. So yeah, that's somewhat pretty much about me, a very brief. So for today's session, before we begin, I would like to discuss few things about the needs of a user. um, in nowadays, basically, for a efficient decision making, when let's say if it's a C-level, CEOs, leadership, business owners, whomsoever is, the very crucial thing for them is they need the access to a clean data. It should be clean, because nowadays, if you see, like whenever you see any data, there are lots of noise. Whomsoever are familiar with it, if you are fresher also, you will get to see that. But those who have some experience, they must have seen that there is a lot of noise within the data which is being generated nowadays, irrespective of the source, whichever it is. So these are some needs that I'm talking about. They would like to mash it up, which means like join it with multiple source, whatever it is. Like one is coming from web, one is coming from their CRM or RDBMS, whatsoever. So then they would like to do some exploration on the data, what it is, how it is, and then they would like to visualize it so that they can make sense out of it. Let's say if I have just a report with all the numbers written on it, I might not be able to make sense of it until and unless I visualize it in some good manner, and then I would like to share it with my users or the user base, whomsoever is keen to look into that. So these are a summary of a user, and you can call them end user, business user, C level, or XYZ, whomsoever it is. So the thing is, like, they have so many resources, and they are mostly looking for this box, how to fill this box, which what can suit this box, and they can which can give them this type of insights and some graphs and charts, and they can make some decisions easily. Okay. So to solve this, recently I got familiar with it, and I'm being fond of, I will say, a little bit of this Microsoft Power or ecosystem, wherein they have come up with Power Platform. Under this Power Platform, they have several ACEs like Power BI, Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power Virtual Agents. So Power BI being a prime player nowadays with respect to business analytics, wherein they are offering some very good visuals, some features coming here and there to help end users to resolve their challenges. And then Power Automate, which helps us to automate some of the process. And Power Apps majorly focusing towards the application development. If you would like to create an app or something, you can make use of Power Apps. And Virtual Agents is a solution for the AI bots who would like to make use of it. So in today's session, our major focus, and we will be focusing towards only these two players for now, keeping the time in constraint, Power BI and Power Automate, wherein this can help an organization or a user, whomsoever, to unleash the power of data and make sense out of it. Under Power BI, there are several components. Majorly, we will be focusing on these data flows and data set. So data flow is nothing much like ETL kind of thing, which we will dive into. We will have a short demo as well about it, how I have been able to implement a solution which can help a organization and end users to get the reliable and efficient data in a proper time manner. So these all components, we will have a walk through towards it, a glimpse, we can say, as much as possible. I'll be trying to cover them up. Okay. So moving on, we'll move with the very first player, which is Power BI in this section. So before we jump into it, I'll briefly walk you through with the components of Power BI. So there are three major components that you can see when you dive into the Power BI architecture. There is Power BI Desktop, there is Power BI Service, and then you have Power BI Mobile, like an app that you have in your normal mobile phones. So when we talk about Power BI Desktop, it's like an offline tool, a normal software which you can install on your Windows machine, and you can do all the kind of developments, mash up the data here and there, then create some good visuals and reports for your end users, solve some challenges, some good stuff, you can say. It can be done in Power BI Desktop. Then you have Power BI Service, which is majorly for sharing the data or the insights that you have created, which can be in form of reports or the dashboard, whatever suits the need. So as per the use case requirement, majorly Power BI Service plays into the role of maintenance, and the sharing of the reports. Power BI Mobile is mainly for just to, when you are out and you don't have access to your laptop or something, and you'd like to just have a quick look at the numbers, how the data is flowing and how the organization is keeping up. You would like to keep a tab on the KPIs that you have. So Power BI Mobile is majorly looking into that. So in today's session, we will be having a glimpse of Power BI Desktop and Power BI Service, as these two are the main components that being a data enthusiast, you would be, or personally, I will be willing to dive into. So today's main focus will be towards these two components only. Okay, so if I talk about the Power BI workflow that we have, so a journey of data, how to make insights out of it, it's basically starts from ETL, if everyone is aware of. To be precise, it's extract, transform, and load. So in Power BI, you have those kind of capabilities available with some good features coming in, and so lots and lots of connectors being introduced nowadays. Like if to name of some of them, there are SQL, you have Facebook, you have Twitter, Google Analytics, then you have data flows, and lots of like more than 150 connectors are being introduced nowadays. So to give you a gist of what can be done where, this workflow can help you understand. So if you would like to load the data, like do some extraction, load it into the desktop, then you would like to do some transformation. Let's say you have two columns differently, first name and last name. You would like to see them in one single column, which is just name, full name, or whatever it is. Or maybe you would like to, split the some of the complex calculation, or you would like to aggregate some of the two columns, or whatever you want to do. So that kind of transformation you would like to do, you can do it in the desktop layer. And if you would like to do some modeling, let's say multi-dimensional or single dimensional, whatever, you would like to establish some relationship between two different tables and create a join or whatever, however you'd like to make the data comfortable for you to do the analysis, you can make use of that feature. And then the analyze phase is something which can be done using both Power BI Desktop as well as Power BI Service. So basically in Power BI Desktop, it's the development journey where you are making the reports or the data feasible to be used for further analysis. And once you are done with that, then you make use of Power BI Service, where you deploy the report, and then it's ready for end users to be distributed and to be shared and make use of it. So recently, Power BI has also helped by introducing Dataflow, which can also take care of these two components, which can be done online. So Power BI Dataflow is basically nothing else, just the Power Query engine, which is being used in desktop, making it available online for the users, if anyone would like to make use of it. For some use cases, it's very much helpful. We'll have a look at one of those use cases as well on how data flow helped. So these are some of the clubbing which can help you to understand what can be done with what. So data flow can help us with load and transform of the data. You can also call it as a ETL layer tool, which can be used in Power BI Service. And then for modeling and analysis, you can simply say that it's a data set you can create. And out of that data set, you can have either a report or a dashboard, which can be shared with the end users. So that was about the Power BI, a very brief. So now, I'll like to dive into the challenge, the use case, one of the challenge that we are solving with help of Power BI and the Power Automate at the last. Okay. So as I said, one of the major concern of an organization is like they would like to see a quality data and very efficiently. Let's say you are traveling somewhere and you paid for a premium class ticket in a air flight, you're not getting the quality service and the flights are late and all. I don't think anyone would be happy with that. So similar kind of logic, applies when it comes towards the Power BI or BI reporting or any organization who is into decision making, where their entire business is heavily relied on the data which the organization is generating. So for that, they would definitely expect a robust system which can handle everything. So recently, you can say, like, let's take an example of an organization XYZ. They were having some these type of performance issues and quality issues and all of them, wherein number one concern for them was the refresh they were scheduling. They were failing very much, and it was also taking long to refresh. The refresh cycle, it can take more than an hour or 1.5 hour. They'll have to wait for a longer time to get the recent data and see and make decisions accordingly, which may result in loss of revenue at times for them. And also they were very high load on the source. The source system, let's say it's a RDBMS or whatsoever it is, there are some data gateways. So there is a very high load, like it's querying as the data is growing, the load is also growing. So parallelly, it goes parallelly. So that's result in a significant rise in the cost with respect to the source. Let's say if you have a RDBMS, which is MySQL or PostgreSQL or Azure SQL, whatsoever it is, if there's a higher load, so many transactions happening, you can definitely expect some more cost added on that part. So that was one of the concern. And the biggest concern was there was a delay in the decision making. So let's say they have some meetings coming up. They are inviting some clients to be there, and they would like to have a meeting with them. So in overall, like to summarize with this picture, it was like there was a database table with billions of rows, and it was being queried across the development which was happening in Power BI desktop, as well as the Power BI data sets which were being used for the reporting. So over and all, like it was like a very slow cycle of refreshes, and things were not going pretty well. So the architecture wise, if I would say, so to explain on that, like let's say these are your data sources where you have some CSV files, then you have RDBMS, you're connecting to web page or so many places to gather the data. And what was happening is there was a gateway being used. Consider gateway as a lift or an elevator or whatever, a passage through which the things will enter and pass through. So this layer is the data source, your primary start. And this is the Power BI data sets which were created. A data set, I believe everyone is aware of, just to give an idea. It's a subset of your entire data. Let's say I have 2 million records. Out of that, maybe I won't need the entire data. So I would need a subset of it, wherein, I just want to focus on let's say last 1 year, last 2 years, such kind of data. So that kind of mechanism or that particular subset is also called as a data set in Power BI. So the thing was like there was a gateway which was very much burdened with so many requests coming in, as they were different data sets based on different use cases, and different developers coming in, and they were designing all the data sets, and they were querying the data source every time. So irrespective of the fact that there is already one data set available, there was duplicacy happening, and the gateway was getting burdened. So using these data sets, the reports and the dashboards and all of them were being created. And uh, at times, users will have to wait because the end user sits here and they are focusing on this one only. They are not aware about the mess which is happening in the back, wherein, the performance is slow because of so many multiple requests coming in and being handled by just single gateway itself. Okay. So the solution which was proposed It was something like this. The architecture was sorted, like we kept data source and gateway in place. Uh, the things were like this, and there was an intermediate layer introduced for the ETL operation, which was the Power BI data flow. So as I said, the Power BI data flow, it helps us in streamlining the source and the traffic, how it's being sent, the load which is being sent on the source to, optimize the refresh cycle, optimize the, the process entirely. So this data flow, what it does is in a private manner, it goes and in a refresh schedule, gets the data from the sources, different sources. It can be there. Let's say you have 10 sources, that's fine. Until analysis is supported, you can have multiple data flows for that. So what it will happen is there will be a uniform layer of querying happening through data flow, and rest other things are smoother because they don't have to wait for their time to come and query the data from the data source, because everything will be streamlined. And now when your all data from recent data which is changing in the source, either it's a RDBMS or XYZ. So from that source, you query the data, park it in the data flow layer, which stores the data in form of CSV file. It's also kind of, a data lake, which is used by Azure in the backend, which is not visible to end user or developer, whomsoever. So basically in the back, what happens in data flow is they store those CSV files in the back. And when you query those data is connected to the Power BI data set, and the refresh cycle is smoother. You can have direct query. Also, you can have import based on the size of the data and the use case to use case, it can vary. So this solution can help us in streamlining the layers for ETL, and streamlining the layer for data modeling, and streamlining the layer for visualization, so that end user is happy and they can make use of the data for the decision making, whatever they wish for. Okay. We'll have a demo as well on this. I'll show you how I have structuralized this, and um, uh, show you a kind of, a feel of how it is looking like. Lastly, there was one challenge. If I go back here, let's say I schedule a refresh for this Power BI data flow, and that was supposed to be at 8 a.m. In this scenario, what happens, let's say I schedule it for 8 a.m. and after that 8 a.m. I wanted my data set to refresh at 8:30 a.m. Okay. So it's like half an hour window I kept. So there can be scenarios when you can say the data source is having some challenges or some issues due to which the refresh extended and it went beyond 8:30. Okay. In the morning, that happened, and the data flow was refreshing. It was taking a time because you never know how technologies may run, and sometimes let's say there is a huge transaction data coming in for a specific day or month. There were so many transactions happening. Your organization did pretty well, so in those cases, the data flow took a longer to run as expected, and simultaneously the refresh schedule for dataset got triggered. So what will happen in that case is, at that time when the refresh is already happening in data flow, it will flush the current state. Okay. Even if though, let's say you have an incremental refresh or whatever policy is applied, the default behavior will be like you have to clean the room before you push something new in. Okay. So in that case, what will happen is when Power BI dataset is refreshing, it will query the blank state, and respectively, it will show the blank reports to the end user, which will, create a chaos among the end users that, our data is gone. I can't see anything. I'm not able to do anything and like that. So another case can be, that there was a failure with the data flow, and there was a wrong data or bad data, something kind of thing, which got queried into the data set. irrespective of the fact whether the refresh was successful or not. And dataset is again in a bad state. If dataset is in a bad state, the reports will be in a bad state. Okay. So to enforce the data quality and efficiency and all this kind of thing, there comes into the picture Power Automate. So with Power Automate, what we can do is we can design flows and ask the data flows or the data sets to only refresh when some of the criterias are fulfilled. So in this use case, what we did is in Power Automate flow, there are some triggers. And by the way, just to share, there are some free licenses available. Some connectors are available under free version of Power Automate. And there are some of them which are in premium. Let's say if you talk about some RDBMS or those kind of thing, some of them are paid and some of them are free. We will have a look when we get into the demo. No need to worry about that. Okay. So in this flow, what happens is I have a trigger in place in the very beginning, which evaluates the status of the data flow. Let's say I have mentioned when the sales data flow refresh completes, evaluate the status. So there's a condition, there's a controller in between. What it does is it will wait for the data flow refresh to complete, and only after the data flow refresh is complete, there can be two scenarios and two outcomes of a complete. Uh, it's up to us how you define a data flow is complete. Even though if it's failed, you can say it's complete, right? Because the data flow refresh has completed. We don't need to wait about the completion of the data flow. Basically, we also need to focus on the outcome of the refresh. It should be successful, then and only it should happen further. So I have this in my conditional wherein the refresh status is evaluated and I verify it should be success. If it's equal to success, then and only go ahead and refresh my data set, whichever it's connected and using this data flow as a data source. So once I confirm that this uh, data flow has refreshed successfully, not failed or something. If it's failed or something, then go ahead. It will say, no, it's not success. Then it will send an alert email to me or the stakeholders or the developer, whomsoever is responsible to look into that. An alert email will be triggered and it will have all the details of the data flow and everything. And after that, what I'm doing is I'm asking this Power Automate to log this for the monitoring in a Google Sheet. So yeah, like just a reminder once again, I am making use of this Google Sheet here because it's a free connector. Just making use of it. Also, the Google Sheet is free, so just utilizing it. If anyone wish to add something new, can be like SQL or RDBMS whatsoever, up to their wish and the use case, that can vary. So there can be further triggers and further conditions if anyone wish to have, and it can vary use case to use case. So this is just a demo and sample one that I have shared over here. This may vary. So in this one, dynamically, whenever the refresh is done, if I have multiple data flows, let's say the use case is not sufficient to have just one data flow, and we need to have multiple one. So in that case, can have some multiple monitoring logs going to the Google Sheet. And from that Google Sheet, we can create another monitoring dashboard in Power BI, which can, in a real-time manner or some way, help us to monitor what went well and when not. Because in Power Automate, you have like only 28 days of history available. So sometimes you might, wish to see what happened then, what happened in last week, how the flows were going. And let's say the duration has spiked and refresh time and whatsoever. So for those purpose also, we make use of this monitoring logs. Okay. Hope so far everything is clear. So yeah, that was something about the theory or something which we have. Now we will dive into the demo. I'll quickly walk you through what I have something available with this, yeah, Power BI and the Automate. Just a moment. Okay, so we are in this, just I'm not sure how to move this. Okay, it's good. Yeah. All right. So when we talk about Power BI, so this is a layout of the Power BI desktop. This is how it looks like, wherein you have report layer, then you have data layer, then you have modeling layer. So in report is something like you get this kind of canvas where you can throw in all the visuals, charts, and visualize and analyze the data. So when it comes about getting data, you have this nice ribbon where you have a lot of connectors available. You can make use of to connect your data, bring it in here, and mix and match and whatever you like to do. So you guys can make use of it. Give it a try. You will find a lot of things which maybe I haven't explored. So yeah, never mind. So once you get the data, you get this kind of query editor, wherein you have the leverage of Power Query, wherein in Power Query, you can have lots of operations available for you. Let's say you want like to get rid of duplicates. You think there are duplicates in your data. You don't want them because they might be influencing your data. You would like to split a column by a delimiter or whatever it is. Let's say this is address line and you don't want it like this. You would like to see them by columns, different things splitting in them, whatever. So there are a lot of features available. Use case, it may vary. And if not, you can try to find it over here with help of adding a column as per your need. There are custom columns available. There are formulas Power Query, um, which is just somewhat like a journal English one, not a very complex one. Yeah, need to have a little walkthrough to it. Some exploration can help, not a big challenge, I will say. Those who have used Excel, they might feel very much familiar and comfortable over here using this Power BI because it's Microsoft never betrays on that part, and they keep a lot of things similar for the end users mindset on how they would be exploring it. So yeah, this is the Power Query editor where you get all this data. You get this preview over here right now. You will see, and you can have this kind of profiling of the data, how the data is looking. You can see this kind of statistics as well, which can help you to identify whether you would like to do any further transformations on it or not, and what type of quality of data it is or not. So yeah, this is the transformation layer, or the edit edit mode, you can say, where you can mash up and join the data if you like. Let's say I have this product description table and I would like to join it with my sales table or the category table, whatever. I can just select that, and there are the SQL joins, left outer, right outer, full, and all. All these conditions are available. And once I'm satisfied with this, I load this data into my reporting layer or my analysis tool, analysis engine. Here also, I get a glimpse of data. Entire data is loaded here. Let's say in this, my order detail table, I have this much of rows, 542 rows. And if I click on any one of them, I'll also get to see how many are distinct or how many are duplicate and all this kind of thing. And I can filter out the data and see if anything I would like to have a look at. So this is the data layer, which is available. And then comes the modeling. So this is a very interesting pane, I will say, where you get to see what table you can join another table with. Those who are not familiar with, just an idea that this can be a crucial layer when it comes to data modeling, or you like to, make sense out of anything. So over here, you can establish a connection between two tables. And if you hover the cursor on that, you will get to see what is connected to what and in what manner. This represents one to many, and that kind of conditions are there. Okay. So in Power BI Desktop, there are a lot of features which I might not be able to cover in this short time, but yes, with exploration, I'm pretty sure that everyone can achieve and get whatever they wish for. I see there are a lot of features being introduced every month. They add some features coming in. So once we are satisfied with the visuals or the DAX measures, so I'll quickly show you one of the DAX measure which I created. So DAX measures are something like this. Like, let's say I have order quantity column, and then I have a unit price, and I would like to derive sales amount out of it. So in that case, what I need to do is I need to use the multiplication. Very simple. So what I do is here is I am just grouping, aggregating the order quantity, multiplying it with the aggregated unit price for that particular row level. Okay. So just to be very careful about when you are working in respect to DAX, is like there are two major things then which you can make use of. One is measure and one is a calculated column. Okay. So a measure is something which is running on the fly, which is used in the visual. You cannot see, it's not physically present in your data, while the calculate column is physically present in your data. So a best example for that will be like, let me show you here. If I add a column, I would be able to see it physically present being here. Let's say I have this first name and last name, two different columns are there. And I would like to have a full name column with which is a concatenated thing. So in that case, what I can do is I can just use this first name, then ampersand, and then last name. So by when I'm done with this, this will create a physical column in that table. So this is available. This is a row by row operation, which is created. And whereas this measure, which I'm talking about, is measure runs on the fly on the data. It's computed on the real time and it's added into the visual. So you can make use of this visualizations. A lot of things are there, customize them as per the need, and arrange it as what makes you happy, makes your end users happy. Let it go with it. So for an example, over here, I've created some of the few measures where I have added some cards there, and there are like 295 products listed, and my hot selling product is classic vest of S size. And then I have like, so far I have 956K amount due. There are 32 customers for a glimpse, and I can break it down by the state and all. And this is a kind of a grouped, aggregated view of the data of what under what category, what is selling and how much. This type of data, once I'm satisfied, what I do is I publish it on the service. So Power BI service is something which is an online, you can say SaaS service, software as a service. So this is provided for the end users, which can be accessed online in a normal web browser. So this is the kind of UI you get, where you have different tools coming in, and there are these workspaces where this can be called as a library, or you can say indexes. And once I'm satisfied, I deploy it here. So yeah, very quickly, this is the view that I was talking about in the slides, wherein I have created a data flow. This data flow is nothing else, just an ETL part, where I am just connecting two different sources. One is my Google Sheet and one is a SQL server from Azure. So these are being queried, and data flow just performs an ETL, stores the data for me, and then I just connect to that data flow and create a data set in this Power BI desktop, which I just showed to you. So these tables that you see here, they are coming from the data flow as a source for me because I have this streamlined approach over here available, which can help me to refresh them efficiently. And through that data set, I create this report, a sales report, which looks something like this, wherein it's just a page, a layer where users can slice and dice the data as per their need. If they won't like to apply any filter, they can just do it here, and they can the end users who are only concerned about the data, the visuals, the insights, they'll make use of this. And dashboard is nothing else, just a enhanced version of a report wherein I don't have to browse here and there. Everything will be available for me in a single page layer where I can just scroll it as per my need. And it varies on the use case to use case, how would make sense. So you can just explore on that part. So this is the Power BI service, how it looks like, wherein I can have multiple stages. Let's say for here, I have created one stage development, and then one is for production. Okay, so for that, we have this deployment pipeline available. In deployment pipeline, there's nothing very much, complicated. It's just to simplify the thing. That in staging, I have some development happening, and in order to, prevent my changes being visible to everyone, I'm just keeping them in the stage and not deploying it on the production. So I'm just doing it here whenever I'm satisfied that my every data set and report is looking good. I can deploy it to the production and move it to there, and then this is done. Okay, so once I have this data flow and this architecture ready in my Power BI service, what I can do is I can just simply make use of a Power Automate, wherein the flows are something like this, which I showed you in the slide as well, where I just specify the workspace and the data flow which I have generated. And then I specify the conditions, and based on that, I specify the data set which needs to be refreshed only and only when it is successful. So if I show you one of the last triggers and the history, how it happens something like this. You get the input, uh, and it identifies how the refresh was, whether it was a scheduled or on demand. And based on the refresh status, if you can see it was success, then based on uh, the status of the refresh, it is considered into this condition. And if the condition expression is true, then and only this gets triggered. Otherwise, this was not triggered. Okay. And after that, I had monitoring in place. So this added the log in my audit sheet so that I can take it forward for my further analysis if I need. So yeah, that sums up about the Power Automate, how this comes into the picture. And if anyone is interested to do so, there are different type of flows. And like if you like to have an automated flow, if you like a scheduled flow where, you define the schedule in there, it should be running this. You define the trigger in the Power Automate, and then later on, you would like to have some actions happening, that can be taken care of as well. There are some templates available as well. Whomsoever interested, use case to use case, they can, make use of it. So yeah, that sums up my demonstration over here. That's all I had.
Before we proceed to any questions, I would like to request the attendees to please fill in the poll about feedback as well. It helps us to conduct more such sessions.
Yep.
Also, guys, please ask your questions in the Q&A section, not in the chat section. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. George saying, will be possible to have ChatGPT working as some kind of engine to BI? Probably yes or no. It's something like, needs to be evaluated and needs to be integrated. But yes, based on whatever development has been happening, it may, up to some extent, we can make use of it with respect to providing some, uh, fuel for the BI on to see how things are going on. So it's quite early, I'll say, for me to comment on this. But later on, in some stages, we can definitely see some good stuff coming with ChatGPT as well. Okay. How to access premium options and freely in Power BI. So Shankar, on this part, to access premium options, there can be some workarounds. Let's say for incremental refresh, this is a kind of a feature which is for data flow, which is only available when you have premium license, either premium per user or the premium capacity. Either you can make use of the premium user, which is very much cost efficient, like $10 is for Power BI Pro and $20 is for premium per user. So in that case, but for some of the use cases, like for data flow, you have some workarounds available where you can implement such kind of things, but might not suit it very much. If you like to just explore the premium features and you like to create a free trial for yourself in Power BI service, you can definitely do so by using Azure portal. There are some steps. If you search online, you will find something about that, how you can um, answer, like get those premium explorations. Okay. Francisco says, in your opinion, why would one use Power BI over Google Data Studio? I will say, in my opinion, I've explored both Google Data Studio and Power BI. There are a lot of, mm, you know, dependencies with respect to Google Data Studio. Although, yeah, it's a free one. But as compared to Power BI, there are a lot of new features, a lot of new connectors available, a lot of functionalities. You can have development happening in your offline mode. It's not completely online. There is offline and online both modes, while Google Data Studio offers you just online version. And another one is the storage part and the feasibility to have this kind of enhanced BI operation. That is somewhat I have seen possible with Power BI, not really with Google Data Studio happening. And there are some visuals limitations also. There are custom visuals available for Power BI as well. Is it worth to try ETL with Power BI instead of on Google Colab and Python when you deal with huge big data sets? What are the limits on Power BI that would make you consider using Python or R instead? Not really. It's not like there are some limitations. Yeah, although when you are making use of Power BI service, there would be some limitations with respect to the big data that you have. And use case to use case, it will definitely vary. If it's a very huge data set, Power BI can help you in break down those steps into efficient manner, wherein you can make use of incremental refresh in data flows and data sets wherever it applies. And with help of those incremental refresh features and the extensive set of data sources which are being available, you can collaborate with other users, and it's easier over there. And limits, yeah, with respect to the Power BI service, There is a limit of 1 GB of one data set, but that can be broken down when you are making use of data flow. And if you have parameterized BI operation, that can be helpful. Any course or platform you recommend to get started with Power BI hands-on? There are a lot of open source platforms. There's one course Simply Learn, and as well as there's a good YouTube channel I'll recommend over here is um, one is from Avi, and then another one is the twin brothers, the DAC Studio, and then there is Rad Acad, where you can have a lot of things summing up new features and everything. Okay, Ali asking, can we create a standalone app with Power BI? I'm not sure about the standalone app, what you're referring here. Um, but yes, you have a feature to embed the visuals or the reports that you have in Power BI to be added to your app or website, wherever you like to add it. Although there's a Power BI mobile app also available. So if that is something you are looking for, or yes, there is another feature of apps, which is an enhanced version of dashboard where you can, customize the look and feel how it should be visible to your end users. Is this tool free? Dinesh, yes, partially, I'll say up to some extent. Yeah, desktop version is absolutely free. And if you would like to try on the Power BI service also, that is also free. But yes, there are some limitations, and with the free version, of course, in that one, you won't be able to share it or collaborate with others. To share, you need a Power BI at least Pro license, which costs $10 a month. And if you like to explore, that's absolutely free. There are no charges for that. You just need to create a account on Azure portal, and through that Azure portal, you can explore this tool. Please advise what sort of documentation we should develop while building a solution from the scratch, Abhishek Ghosh. So Abhishek, for this very good question, I'll say. This is really important, which I have felt during my entire journey, that we should have a good documentation for myself and for others whomsoever joining or leaving. So in terms of documentation, I would recommend that we should make use of DAX Studio. It's an external connector which you can connect with Power BI, and with help of that, you can export the measures and some of the the M queries which are created. You can export that, and then you can have it in place. So when you are building a solution, it should start from the beginning, which is like, what is your source? From my opinion, elaborate a little bit about your source. These are the source. Then you can add the schedule about the source, how frequently it's getting updated, and how frequently you need it to be there, what's the objective, a brief can be there so that it can be helpful to understand. Then after that source, you can have a expectation one, the objective, what you would like to achieve, whether if it's something to be visual part or whether something of analysis that you are doing. Then you can have some information about the the action you have done. Like, let's say you have joined these tables to establish a relationship, maybe the modeling graph that I showed at the last, the reporting one, the relationships that you have created between the tables, that can help. And lastly, of course, the link and where it can be found and how it can be enhanced. I hope that answers. Are trigger options automatically generated? Farzana Akhtar. Trigger options varies. I think if you are asking this for the Power Automate, in that case, yes, the triggers get triggered automatically based on the schedule that you define, or when based on the event, whatever you define for it. Let's say you already defined or schedule the refresh for a data flow in Power BI service, and based on that, you would like to trigger the further action, yes, that will get triggered automatically. But yes, you need to define the base, the start, from where the trigger should follow and what event should fire the next event. So that is something you need to uh, define first at the beginning. And once you are done with it, it gets handled automatically. You don't need to intervene until and unless there's a blast or something like that. Okay, hope that answers. Himanshu Singla, can we make real-time application with it? Yes, there is the option of direct query available in Power BI, provided you can use it, provided your data source is able to handle that kind of load and that kind of frequent queries coming in. There are some IoT connectors or streaming data sets feasibility also available if you like to see that kind of thing. And with this structure, which I have just shared, I can say yes, you can make it near to the real time. I won't say very exactly real time. If that is something you need, you can have the schedules to refresh a little more frequently as compared to the 30 minutes window or something. But if it's like very real time, you need it within a fraction of seconds. In that case, I would definitely suggest you go for streaming data flow or streaming data set, which at present have connectors limitation. Yeah. Himanshu asks, any book recommendation? I'm not sure about the books, honestly. I haven't searched for any book for Power BI. But yes, there are lots of blogs. There are community blogs. Definitely, I will suggest everyone to visit Power BI community where users post their questions, and there are lots of experts who answer them based on the features coming in. Personally, when I get into some kind of difficulty or challenge, I do give it a try over there. At times, I am able to find something. And another thing will be you can subscribe to Guy in a Queue. They are making good videos with respect to some, widely challenge use cases. They keep updating their knowledge bank as well with the new additions. And there's a Radacat from Reza. There's another one, Enterprise DNA. So these are some of the recommendations with respect to the YouTube channels and some of the blog posts which users are having, which might be helpful. And on top of that, I'll say that exploration is the biggest book and a teacher, I'll say. When you explore it, you learn a lot.
Thanks a lot, Harsh. On behalf of Analytics Vidya, I would like to thank you for your time for delivering such a wonderful session. I'm sure our audience found it insightful, and hopefully we can conduct more such sessions with you in future.
Certainly.
I
Same
hope
here.
you uh,
Likewise. Thank you.
I hope you guys have filled in the feedback form. If not, I request you all to please fill in the feedback. It helps us to keep conduct more such sessions. And the LinkedIn profile of Harsh is available in the chat section, and the YouTube link is also available in the chat section. And the recording of the session will be available within 2 days. And we'll be back with another session on data on 12th Jan. The link is in the chat section. Till then, bye bye and keep learning. And thanks, Harsh.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great time ahead.